Hello everyone and welcome down to episode number 35 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, that guy over on that screen, Cam Blake down in sunny today, Cam, Tasmania.
No, it's cold as a witch's tit down here today.
It is starting to get chilly and we have a third person in the room. So as usual, we'll be on our best behavior. We have a very special episode of the Down South Photo Show with our monthly interview. And today, our special guest is Mr. Glynn Lavender. Give it up for Glynn Lavender, everyone. Yes.
Look at him.
Wow, two claps. Is that how many listeners you've got? One each? It's just the two of you and
well, we are the two listeners, so
yeah. Hopefully, we've got three now. I mean, you're here.
Well, I'm not going to listen though.
No. you know you're going to watch yourself back.
Didn't you just say? Didn't you just say you spent the whole
me.
week with research? You spent the whole week researching this show, and didn't you just say that?
You may not know, but I actually have my own podcast, and I put in a full 15.
Anyway,
seconds.
Moving on. Anyway,
I put in a full 15 seconds of research for that one, so I'm not sure I'll get any more into you guys.
Well, give us 20 seconds at least.
No,
well, it's
told me what we're doing.
Okay, well, it's absolutely lovely to have you join on the Down South Photo Show. A little bit of background with Mr. Lavender. Cam and I used to work beneath Glynn at Camera Action Camera House. Glynn was technically our boss, Cam. Would you call him our boss?
I think he even had the title of store manager at one stage.
And above. Yes.
And above. Yeah, and that seems to be where everything started going downhill for
when I left, after I left, it went downhill, dude. Yeah.
I don't know.
They were bankrupt 6 months later. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, right. You were driving a new car, though. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. How did that come about? I think Glynn could be best described nowadays as a stalwart of the Australian photographic industry. He is now the owner and creator of Creative Photo Workshops. He is one half of the Shutters Inc. podcast. How many episodes in on that, Mr. Lavender?
545 or something.
Holy smokes. Here we are at episode 35 of this little embryonic piece of crap.
But as I'd like to say, we've got 500 plus hours of content and 15 minutes of it's worth listening. Have fun finding it.
Yes. And yeah, as I say, many years in camera retail prior to that, including being our boss at Camera Action Camera House.
That's a very loose term. Very loose term.
I reckon I met you in 2004. I think that sounds about right. So getting on, known you for about 18 to 20 years, which is feels like a lot longer.
Yeah, I think I met you in 98 or 99. I think I was a bit earlier.
And I met your dad in about 1981.
Yeah, I know, when I was about 2. So he still speaks highly of you, which I think he's losing his mind a little bit. But dementia's kicking in for Noel. So, but he thinks you're okay. I've tried to convince him for many years that you're a bit different, but
clueless.
I know.
How would you describe your current position or relationship within the Australian photographic industry, Glynn?
Stagnant.
Yes.
Yeah, because of COVID, because I predominantly either run photography workshops or photo tours, and a lot of my workshops in the US, and a lot of my tours, obviously, funnily enough, are overseas, and they haven't really been doing much for the last couple of years, and then I've had some health issues just of late, and so I'm not really able to work for the rest of this year, probably as a minimum. So stagnant would be probably a good descriptor. If I could only be stagnant, that'd be good. So we are what we are.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping to bring a little levity to your day and to bring you onto the Down South Photo Show. I want to talk a little bit about what you do, and as a fanboy myself, I mean, we're mates, but I also do absolutely love what you do with the camera. You've been down to my shop a couple of times, run a couple of workshops down here over the last few years. Your natural light portrait workshop, if hopefully down the track you get to run those again, because for me, one of the best workshops I've ever been to, and certainly the feedback I got from my customers was certainly matched that as well. Are you, health issues aside, 2023, looking ahead to maybe relaunching those?
I won't know until my health issues are decided. Even the doctors don't know yet. So who knows? Right. Yeah. Right. Well, let's see if I'm still around. If I am, we'll deal with it. I hope so. Let's put it right. The hope is there.
Yeah. That's all we can have, isn't it? A bit of hope.
Yeah, you got to take each day as it comes, regardless of your situation in life, and make the most of stuff because life's uncertain. So
I can't wait to share another single bed sort of hotel room with you again, maybe here in Tasmania or maybe overseas if we go ahead with what we were doing.
Yes,
because the last one we did in Tassie, that was a funny old little weekend.
It was a great weekend.
That was a great weekend. We had a bit of fun in the forests. We had a model pass out on us in the middle of the forest. That was fantastic.
5 minutes in too.
I'm dropping it in there. It was
a stamina. Give me some stamina.
Yeah, I know. He or she, we won't make a name of it, but fell off the perch, literally.
We'll put a link. We won't mention the name, but we'll put a link.
We'll put a link to their profile. Nah, it was funny days.
Now, Glynn is also
law too. So
yeah.
Glynn is also a brand ambassador for Tamron, as you can see by the sponsor. For those of you who can't see and are listening in your cars or in your ears,
do you reckon we can get Tamron to sponsor the show?
Well, we've got their number one ambassador here.
Sponsor yours.
Yeah, but ours is better.
Oh, yes. Fair point.
Oh, sorry. We're sixth, you're fifth. I understand.
Yeah. But see, we deliberately don't show our faces because we figures that would maybe keep the numbers up better.
How's that going for you?
Well, we'd have 2 listeners if we showed our faces.
So. Maybe that's the secret, Cam.
Well, you dropped your face off last episode. Mid episode, his webcam stopped. So why
would you bring that up? Also, brand ambassador for Lexar Memory, Think Tank Photos, and Ellen Crom. Still current with those, Mr. Lavender?
Well, not Lexar because they're kind of gone and then restarted again. But also 3-legged thing tripods, Mindshift gear, a few others.
You're a bit of an ambassador whore then, really.
Well, give me free stuff and I'm yours.
We're not paying you for this, are we?
What do you mean? Sorry, I better go now.
Yeah. Okay, that's been episode 35 of the Down South Photo Show.
A quick episode's a good episode.
Absolutely. Now, I've got a new segment for our guests, and where you're our guinea pig. I have a segment that I like to call burst mode questions. So I've got a few rapid fire questions for you, Glynn. Feel free to answer.
And I have a thing I call burst mode opinions.
Yes. So,
I think the two going to go
the good thing is Brendan's figured out how to use the bleep noise on our episodes, so this could be just completely bleeded out for the next 5 minutes, I reckon.
Okay, well, these are burst mode questions. They're just questions that I've formulated. You can answer them exactly how you want to. There's about 8 of them there. So first question, film or digital?
Digital. Film's ridiculous.
Care to expand?
Why on earth would you spend that? Well, okay, as if you're trying to learn photography, don't learn with film. It takes too long. Learn with digital. Digital, you can grasp more in one day than you can in 6 months learning with film. Film's an affectation that you're welcome to play around with once you're reasonably experienced. But if you're trying to advance yourself in the art form of photography, as I said, life is uncertain. You may get hit by a truck next month, and you just got to get involved in, and all this stuff about the feel of digital. Now I'm jaded. I did film for 30 years, so it's nothing special. It's nothing new. Vinyl's the same thing. My feeling on, I told you I have opinions. My feeling is that delayed gratification is something young people do not know anything about. And things like film, where you take a photograph and have to wait 2, 3, 4, 5, who knows how many weeks before you see the result, is something that's so alien in people's life, young people's lives these days, that it's a great joy. And that's a good thing. Waiting for things sometimes is a good thing. So I see the benefits. But if you're trying to learn photography, or you're working for a client where you need to provide work, it's just not a medium that makes sense. And cost-wise, it doesn't make sense. Photography is a business at the end of the day. If you want to be a photographer, you need to cost cut. The world's best photographers are bankrupt. The world's most average photographers who can run a business are successful. So film does not make economic sense as a working photographer either. So yeah, unless they're paying bespoke prices for bespoke photos.
I don't think you get any arguments out of Cam and I that that's definitely the case, particularly for pro photographers. Like, why would you shoot film? I think we've spoken about this in episodes quite recently. We like shooting film now because it actually slows us down and stops and makes us create in my opinion, particularly with landscape, which is what Cam and I shoot a lot of, it does tend to slow us down. Yes, you can do that with digital as well. You can stop and take your time, but film, probably because of the costs involved with it more than anything, really does make us slow down. But I completely agree with you that, it's got to be digital all the way if you're looking to run a business out of it.
Do you know you can buy a digital film? It's called a piece of cardboard. You put it over your screen. You can't look at your screen. It's the same result. That's the same experience.
And this is why I wanted you on this podcast, mate. This is great. Next question: color or black and white?
Who cares?
Okay.
What was your? I'm happy. I'm happy with each question to give my instant response and then back it up with.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I mean,
once again, color or black and white is quite frankly a wank question. You know, each photograph tells its own story, and whether color helps tell that story or whether lack of color helps tell that story is the determining factor. You can't say one thing or another. No one photo is a color photo unless there's elements in it that determine it's a color photograph. The image will talk to you and tell you what it should be. That's really, you have to get out of the way of that.
Would you say certain genres of photography adapt themselves more to black and white and color? Like, you see a lot of travel photography or street photography that's mostly black and white, or they go with that sort of, walking the streets of New York. Sorry?
It's called an affectation. They try to look like people who shot in the 50s.
Yeah, but you don't think there's a certain genre that marries itself more to a certain color or black and white feel?
Black and white art nude?
Yeah.
But here's what, imagine the 1970s. Imagine you're doing street photography in the 1970s.
Yeah.
And you're only shot in black and white. And then there you look at you look at those photos now, you can see style, but you can't see the color of the 70s. Where are the oranges? Where are the browns? Where are the puke every other color they had? Color tells the story of a generation as much as anything else.
Yeah.
So by eliminating that crucial element in what that era looked like, just for, as I said, to me, it's an affectation. If you're shooting in a really bleak landscape, well, maybe black and white helps. But I said each photo, each situation will determine whether it's a color of black and white or whether it's an oversaturated color photo or a desaturated color photo. I mean, there's place for all of those things. But I think if you only shoot black and white, you're missing out. And if you only think color, you're missing out too.
Going a step deeper than that, if you're doing a shot, for example, where you travel, do you get back when you edit your shots? I know you don't do heaps of editing from memory. You're pretty quick and clean about it all. But do you flick between color and black and white when you see the file, or do you have a bit of an idea when you've shot it that, hey, that's going to work color or that's going to work black and white?
Well, usually I shoot black and white JPEG in camera anyway. Yeah, so okay. I've customized black and white settings in my camera. If I feel something speaks to me to be black and white, I'll often shoot it there.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I will do that flip between, but I'll never ask anybody else's opinion. I'll never put both of them up on the internet and ask people to ask, which one do you think? Because it's not a popularity contest. It's a feeling for your art. So if when you look at it in black and white, if that lack of color draws your eye to certain parts of the photograph and those certain parts of the story you're trying to tell, or your eyes being drawn in a color photo to areas because that color is so vibrant, it's taking you away from the subject, then you've got to eliminate it. So it really comes down to, what's your story? Yeah. What are you trying to say? What's the photo about? And make it that, however you need to.
Yeah, cool. Very comprehensive answer. I like it. Burst mode looks like it's here to stay. I love it. What was your first camera, Glynn?
Olympus Trip 35. Actually, I lied. I had a little Kodak 126 even before that, back in the late 1960s.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and when I used to live in England, and so I remember taking photos with that little 6x6 little square photographs. But my first proper camera was Olympus Trip 35. Which has no controls on it except for focus distance. It's close, medium, and a bit further away, and that's it. But my first real camera was the Olympus OM2.
Yeah, just as a little aside there, my daughter has now got an Olympus Trip 35.
Great camera.
That a customer donated to me, and we stuck a roll of film through it the other day, and amazing. She absolutely loves it. So
the day before I started in the photo industry in 1981, my mother got me into this business. She dragged me into a camera store by the ear and said, "This is my good for nothing son. Employ him," and they did. And I haven't enough imagination to have left. So that's a great 41 years. But the night before I started, my mum gave me her Olympus Trip 35 and showed me how to put a roll in for the first time. And that was it. That was the start.
So your first job was in the UK?
No, I moved to Australia in 71. So
gotcha. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So no, I worked for Fletcher's Photographics.
Oh, lovely.
In Swanson Street and Elizabeth Street in the early 80s. So.
Yeah, fantastic. What's your current camera? Your current go-to camera, let's say.
iPhone 11 Pro Max.
Hello.
Yeah, it's my most common. If you ask me what camera do I shoot with the most,
yep.
But I got a couple of 5D Mark IVs, Mark IIIs, 6Ds. Yeah, so 5 or 6 of those laying around.
Yeah, so Canon.
Or Canon. Yeah, so Canon bodies and nothing but Tamron lenses. So I haven't shot a photograph with a lens other than Tamron in 12 years, something like that. 10 or 12 years.
Yeah. What do you see the benefits of the iPhone? What's the main benefit you get out of shooting with the iPhone?
Well, immediacy for starters. I mean, you always say shoot with the camera you've got. Now, the quality is certainly good enough. And I think here's an example. I was away camping on the weekend or away fishing on the weekend with a friend I hadn't seen in a few years. So I took a bunch of photos on my iPhone just because we're fishing, so I'm not carrying camera gear. But I'm taking a bunch of photographs, and iPhone, Apple straight away makes a little movie of it for me. No work involved, lovely music, titles, thing all slapped together. I share it with him, job done. So that's a great thing to keep people socially interested in photographs. And I've shot travel photography on my iPhone. And some of my favorite travel photos I've taken have been on my phone because that can be less daunting to the people you're photographing. And that can be a thing too. So I'm a firm believer it's not the tool, it's the tool using it. So it's your ability to shoot, not the gear you shoot with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're a bigger tool, you take better.
The bigger the tool, the bigger the camera you have to use.
Yeah, awesome.
Right. So how big is yours, camera?
Well, if I got $1 for every time I've got to ask that,
yeah, you'd have 10 cents.
I'd have about $1.
So what's your favorite camera of all time? That's a tough one.
He's going to say the iPhone.
Something almost kept me quiet for a few minutes. Look, I've always been a big fan of the Olympus OM1 or the Nikon FM. They're just beautiful to. There's something tactile about shooting with them. I think the modern cameras have lost. I know the Fuji's try and the Sony's a little bit, but there's just something about that crank of the shutter. And,
we have actually had that ongoing on our show for a few weeks now. Is that we think that it's the wind and the click that is. Yep. The you don't get that anymore on the camera. You just get click, click, click. But the wind and the click is what sort of it brings back instant memories or some sort of instant enjoyment. I think that it comes back and there's nothing better than winding on a bit of film and.
And you guys were also saying before that it slows you down. Well, also the wind resets you. So every time you wind, you reset to the next shot. So you've done that photo is done. Click new page. Yeah, it's like turning a page in a book or starting a new chapter. So there are some things to be said for that enjoyment of photography. And when it comes to shooting film or digital, if you just do it for fun, do whatever makes you happy because it's your life. So you do what makes you happy. There's a big difference between an amateur photographer and a pro photographer. One's business, one's life satisfaction. And if it's the case, you do whatever you damn well please.
And I guess like Brendan and I, like I said, we shoot a little bit of film and a little bit of large format and all that kind of stuff, but it's never for commercial use or making money out of it. It's all just to get back to that passion. It's like putting on, like I said, an old vinyl that you love, listening to the headphones and just getting away, going back in time for a bit and having a bit of fun and which is what it should be.
Nostalgia is not what it used to be, though, Cameron.
No, it's not. No, that's not. He's got something for every moment, doesn't he?
So I'm curious about this question, and I thought about putting it in, and I've got a feeling. I've got a feeling I know how you're going to answer this. Who's your favorite photographer?
Haven't got one.
Yeah, that's exactly how I thought you'd answer it.
I don't. I follow almost no. The only photographers I ever follow are ones I know.
Okay.
So I follow you guys. By sheer chance, last time I was in India, I picked up a couple of strays at a hotel to take them to its Holi festival because they had no idea where to go. And we're sitting on a bus and sharing details. And I said, "Oh, yeah, put your name down there and I'll follow you on Instagram," sort of thing. And the kid goes, "Oh, you're already following me." I said, "No, I'm not. I don't follow anybody." And there's this young kid I've been following for about 5 years who was having this argument with his parents about becoming a photographer. He was in high school and he wanted to quit and become a professional photographer. And they said, no, you're going to college. And it was that fight I was watching to see what happened. And he's in the deserts of Angola at the moment, photographing for the last 8 days for his upcoming book. So he's done all right for himself. You should get him on the show, guys. I think you'd love him. This guy called Andrew Studer. Now, the closer answer to what photographer do I like, I've never really paid much attention to other photographers' work, past or present, but the person I like who thinks the most interestingly about photography is a guy called David Duchemin. So Duchemin. His thought approach to why we shoot and what stories we're trying to tell, I find are excellent. He's got some really good books, and I would highly recommend people. He's got lots of resources to download for free, so I would recommend people have people have lost their fojo, the photo mojo. Good place to talk to him. If you want to be a storyteller photographer, good resource to look at. But unfortunately, as far as actual photos is concerned, I don't have any.
Yeah, you wouldn't pick one particular photographer that you would say is a favorite.
No, I see photos. Oh, I like that, and I see photos. Oh, I don't like that. And
So, are you the kind of person that sees a photo that they like and then wants to know more about the photographer, or just move to the next image?
Next photo. Yeah, I'm very self-obsessed. So if it's not about me, why would I want to watch it? Yeah.
So you're going to watch this episode then?
Good point. Actually, maybe I should. It's I don't know. It's just that natural lack of the only photographic books I own are the ones people have given me. I have a natural uncuriosity about that. I mean, and someone asked me recently, what do I love about? Why do I love photography? And I said, well, I'm not really sure I do, but I do love the reason it gives me to go out. In tours especially, I can go traveling places, no worries at all. But having a camera in hand gives you a reason to be out there, and it gives you a reason to engage with people. It gives you a reason to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's the doing I love, not the end result.
Yeah. Look, and I think that's what comes across. Sorry to cut you off, but I think that's what comes across in your imagery. Is it's not so much the actual the art of the photography that comes through. It's the way you capture the places that you're in. I think that there is a differentiation there, and you can really tell that you immerse yourself. Now, this is more of a landscape show, so we're going to probably go towards that a bit more. But your travel photography, like some of the images, which I'll put up on the screen somewhere, if you don't mind me stealing them and showing them off on here, it really does come. There's one behind you actually, which is quite a famous. Well, I've seen that photo many times. To me, it comes across that you do love when you are traveling and when you are in these environments, and the tool you have to express how much you love it is the camera.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah. And I said the end result I could care almost less about, the end result is really a marketing tool to try and get people to come on tours and pay me money. But to come and share the experience with it, and all the feel good stuff that goes along with that. But at the end of the day, again, it's mercenary, it's a business. I need to feed my family. I need people to come on tour. I mean, I said I only sold my first ever works 3 weeks ago, thanks to the help of you, lovely Brendan. When we sold a bunch of prints, and you fantastically printed them for me for one of my Indian guides who's been doing it incredibly tough with no work for 2 years. So I mean, I've never even printed my own photos. Yeah, the last 10, 15, 20 years, other than photos of the kids, which are the only photos that really mean anything to me. I've never even bothered printing my work out. So and the only reason this marketing, you can see just down the bottom down here. It was done at a trade show. Someone wanted to do it to promote their print on metal. Do you do printing on metal, Brendan?
No, I don't.
Okay, so print to metal, lovely people. Ask for Marie, tell her I sent you. Yeah, but that's it. There's liaisons with stuff like that. It's about the only time, or if I do covers of magazines or articles or books or whatever where it's got my photos in it, it's about the only time they get printed.
Yeah, so your
Just
main,
to me, it's the next photo. What's my favorite photo? The next one.
Yeah. And having seen you at work at the workshops that you ran at my shops, you are like that. It seems like your attention span for the image you're working on is over once you click, and then it's right, next. Let's go again.
Yeah. It's dead to me, and so are you. Yeah, next person.
It's quite serious. That like you take your photo and you maybe glance at it on the screen, like, right, let's go and find some more light. Got two questions left in burst mode for you.
Just on that though, where does the photo end up though? If you're visualizing your photo, telling that story, taking the shot, then bang, that's it, move on. Yeah. Then where does that photo end up for you? Like it just sits on a hard drive, but then it doesn't see the light of day. So
it goes to Instagram and Facebook, and then gets shoved down the queue with all as new ones go on top.
Yeah.
And then they sit on hard drives until the hard drives die.
Yeah, but that's a life's work of images and experiences and passion and all that kind of stuff that sits on a hard drive. Don't you feel like the complete process is to share that passion and love and experience with everyone that loves your work? Like if you're just sort of holding them on hard drives, I feel like that's only 2/3 of the work done in regards to the whole process of the story being told and about what you're all about and the passion you have. It's almost like people. It's almost. I was going to say it's almost like you don't want the recognition, or you don't like the attention of what your images could bring to you as an artist, as opposed to someone else who flogs their images out, prints them out, posts them everywhere, and gets all the accolades. You seem to be quite happy and content just to have it up here and not necessarily out in the world. It's an interesting look on things.
Yep. Yeah. Spot on.
Cool. Righto. We've got two. We've got 2 questions left in burst mode, which has gone 15 minutes longer than I'd planned, and that's great.
Well scripted.
I'm allowed now.
Yeah. For some unknown reason, you've got 1 photo left that you can take. What would you want it to be?
Ooh. My children happy.
I love it. See now, there's 3 dads sitting here, so that's
just to see them in a life that's not, that they haven't created dramatic complications, that they've got a path that's going to work out well for them.
Yep. You've taken some pretty stunning photos of your beautiful girls over the journey as well. And I hope you don't mind if I do pop a couple of them up on the screen while we're talking, because they are absolutely magic. Big motivation for you?
Not really.
Inspiration?
No. They're just my kids, they're just my kids, and you want to mark that passage of time with a photo. When I used to go see my mum and dad before they passed, I always used to take my camera and said, "Now I'm coming to do your coffin shot, Mum. I'm coming to do your coffin shot." And every time you visited them, you'd line them up and say, "Here's your coffin shot done." And guess where the last photos were? On the coffins.
On their coffins.
Those photos are so important, because if anyone's been to a funeral and seen this blurry 8x10 of Uncle Larry that was taken at the back of a barbecue, picking his nose by the fence, that's the best photo they got of him. That's a tragedy.
Kiss the cook apron on.
And the other O is slightly obscured.
That's right.
That's the thing. It's those photos that we have to take are the ones that mean the most to us, have to be of those who mean the most to us.
And I think you sort of touched on it briefly there as well. And I'm a big believer of this, that what we do, it doesn't matter what you're shooting, what you are as a photographer, we're capturing time. Yeah. And time is just, as we all know, everything going on in the world, time is just precious. And if you can capture those moments that you love yourself, like I think I'm a little bit like you, Glynn. I know I put my work out there a lot, but like, to me, it's all about that moment. Like, it's not necessarily what happens after the fact, but it's more about the moment that I experience with myself or wife or kids or customers or whatever it is. And I think that's lost a lot in people taking photos that don't actually consciously think that, hey, I'm actually capturing a moment in time that's really important to me.
Yeah.
And I need to cherish that. I think a lot of people, just like you said, those click, 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 and burn through a memory card, and, you know, they've got 6,000 shots of the same scene without actually realizing what they've sort of experienced. And I think it's important that people take their time capturing time, as I say. It's a really unique thing that we're able to do.
I mean, that whole thing about the decisive moment. I'm not sure if, yes, there are decisive moments, but those moments can last for a couple of hours. You know, those moments are times that happen and things that happen in our lives, the events or people or places we go to that we want to memorialize in imagery, and that can go over several hours. But each of those moments that we capture, we want to do our best to tell that. And I said, to me, photography is all about storytelling. Why take the photo unless you're trying to say something to the person who's going to look at it? Because you already know what happened. You were there. You saw it. You remember it. The photo isn't really for you. It's for the person you're trying to show and get them to understand, your message or your joy, your feeling, your elation of being in that place at that time.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's very, very good answer. So, look, I suppose with the rapid fire or the burst mode that we've been doing, you have already given, whether you wanted to or not, given everyone a lot of advice. But if you could give our listeners one piece of advice when it comes to photography.
I was waiting for it. Quit now.
So like, would there be one piece of advice that you would give to, like, we have a lot of listeners who are, they're very enthusiastic photographers, and very, very keen to advance their craft and get as much knowledge as they can. Speaking to a guy like yourself who's been in the game for quite some time now, 40 plus years, do you have one piece of advice that comes to you to the front of mind?
For professional or wannabe professional photographers, my advice always is spend more money learning how to run a business and less on learning how to take photos. Because if you can't run a business, you'll be bankrupt regardless. For amateur photographers is ignore critics, ignore judges, do what makes you happy. No photo is perfect. I've taken God knows how many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of images, and I could probably count in my hand the ones I actually really like. So no photo is perfect. They're never going to be. They've got to make you happy. If it's not making you happy, there's too many stresses in this world already. Why the hell are we adding photography to it?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be brilliant. You just have to love what you were doing when you did it. And if you enjoy what you're doing, the photo's a benefit. The side benefit.
Yeah, it speaks also to the topic we ticked off about 10 episodes ago, talking about mental health and how fantastic an avenue photography is to help with your state of being.
Absolutely. Yeah, just getting outdoors sometimes is everything. And if a camera gives you the excuse to go out, then that can change a lot of how you feel about the world and yourself. Sitting indoors all the time isn't. And we found that, especially here in Melbourne during lockdown for 2 years, being stuck indoors is a tough place to be sometimes. So getting out's important. Yeah,
no, it was a pretty ordinary time to be a photographer, really. Found myself taking a lot of photos indoors, which sort of segues a little bit in a weird way. Your travel photography is fantastic. There's no question about it. Do you put that down to, you had a lot of experience leading up to before you started traveling and teaching travel photography. So when you got to these fantastic locations, you can name a few countries that you've been to on your tours?
Now,
yes.
Well, I mostly do tours to places like India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Vietnam, etc. So I love the East Asian countries. I'm a people photographer, so I like to go where people are interesting. And that's a big thing. So
so do you have a favored country that you like to shoot most? Like you have an affinity to one place?
Well, I love India. India is just a remarkable place to shoot. But if I had a choice, I could only return to one place to shoot, it would be India. But probably my preferred place at the moment would be Bangladesh, simply because there's like an unknown frontier where there's not a lot of Westerners out there shooting, and there's a lot of opportunities to photograph a world that really is gone 20, 30, 40 years ago in a lot of areas of the world. People building ships by hand, metal container ships by hand, hauling up sheets of metal themselves. That doesn't happen in a lot of places still in this world. So it is a bit like a time machine in some ways, going back and be able to shoot in some of those places. So as a photographer who lives for the experience, that kind of thing is really good. But if you love color and people and festivals and action, India's unmissable, basically. Yeah. And it's safe, and it's you can travel clean and safe and happy and stress-free and see incredible things and meet incredible people and take great photos.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about India, and it's definitely on my list. And so I've heard a lot of it being a very welcoming country for
people are
photographers.
Well, here's the thing: if I always say this to my clients who are often fairly reticent to walk up to complete strangers to ask to take their photograph, is in India they will call you over and demand you take their photographs. So it quickly breaks that barrier. If you're a little bit shy about it, you won't be after the first day. There's the Western concept of personal space is very different in a place with 1.3 billion people. And they're the loveliest people majority of the time, and I certainly feel safer walking around the streets in India than I do in Brisbane, for example. Brisbane at night I found probably the most unsafe place I've walked in the world.
Wow.
And the place I felt the least safe. So it's and I've walked places where people have come up in India and said, don't go down there, you'll get killed. So I still felt safer there than Brisbane.
You weren't wearing a North Melbourne jumper in Brisbane, were you?
Not this weekend.
Not this weekend.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. So let's do a bit more of a dive into your travel photography stuff. When you are packing for a trip to India, for example, what goes into the bag? What's the first thing into the bag as far as your photographic equipment is concerned?
Well, because I'm a tour leader, my gear is quite more overloaded than it would be if I was traveling for myself. So, I mean, I'm packing flash triggers for every brand of camera I know is coming on tour. And I'm packing LED lighting panels, off-camera flash gear. But look, if I could pare things down to the least I would ever need, would be one body, something ultra wide. I love shooting ultra wide travel stuff, so like a 15 to 30, and something like a 70 to 200. I could shoot 95% of all the things I need in travel with those two lenses. And because I shoot people, I like to be able to control the light. Now that could either mean me moving them into places where the light is better, which is my first port of call. Whenever I approach someone to take the photograph, I'm smiling at them, but at the corner of my eyes, I'm looking for where's the light good to shoot them in. And if I can find good light, I'll ask to move them to that spot. If you can't find good light, then I will set up a light and say, well, I need to control the mood of the shot that I'm going to get by controlling where the light comes from. So
you look so much better in those. Just that 5 seconds. That's such a big improvement.
But but my normal gear would be a 15 to 30, maybe a 35 1.4, a 70 to 200. I don't shoot 24 to 70. I have not a lot of need in that focal range, and depending on the tour, maybe I'll take 100 to 400 with me as well.
Yeah.
That's a bit of weight. That's a bit of weight to carry around.
Yeah, I normally carry about 18 and 19 kilos of camera gear, and then I try and shove the clothes in the other little nooks and crannies around it.
In the lens hoods.
Yeah.
Clothes are overrated, Glynn. We know this.
Yeah. So I use. I'm an ambassador for a company called R-Strap, which are over the shoulder sort of gunslinger style.
So what are they called?
What are they? Can we say that again for us?
R-straps.
R-strap.
R space strap.
All right.
Yeah, it only works in Australia and England. It doesn't work if you've got American.
I wasn't sure what an arse trap was.
Yeah, the Black Rapid straps is probably a better name for them. So the good thing about this, they go. I wear two of those over one over each shoulder, and one body on each side, and a 15 to 30 on one, a 70 to 200 on the other, and you're always ready to shoot. Travel photography is fleeting moments of things happening, and if you need to change lenses, you're going to miss 60% of the photos that are going to be available to you. It might be 70%, but I'm not sure, because 47% of all my stats are made up on the spot.
Speaking about stats, just on that, if you're carrying 2 cameras, and sometimes you see a lot of that with sometimes landscape photographers, they'll have a telephoto on a wide angle. Do you set your cameras up identical in regards to settings, ISO, which mode you're shooting in, or do you try and set maybe your telephoto with a bit of a higher ISO just so you can get that speed you need, or do you just shoot how you think it's going to happen?
Yeah, everything's unpredictable, so you can only guesstimate anyway. But I normally have my bigger lens set up, bigger lens 70-200, with something that's going to give you a slightly faster shutter speed, because I don't have super steady hands. Yeah, so that's, and if you have to go really quickly to shoot, there's movement, there's all that stuff you have to take control of. So I kind of like to, I don't like shooting below about 1,000th of a second shutter speed. So whatever I need to, on whatever the conditions of the day or the environment is. With the 15-30, you got a lot more play and a lot more.
That's right.
It's a lot more forgiving. So, and I'll try and keep the ISO down to allow me to, I can do 125, 180 shutter speeds if needs be. So,
and as a plug for Tamron, because we know they're the best lens company in the world.
Not remotely.
Not remotely, but that's fine. They don't watch the show. They all sponsor it. Do they have image stabilizer on some of their lenses?
Yeah, almost all the lenses, except for the ones that go on bodies that have built-in stabilizers. Here's the thing about Tamron. Tamron approached me a decade or so ago and asked me to do stuff for them. I do stuff for Tamron Japan, Tamron USA, Tamron Australia, Tamron India. It's not about the tool. If you're teaching photography and you pull out a $20,000 lens and a $15,000 body, everyone thinks you're a good photographer because of the gear you use. If you pull out an accessible, a Sigma or a Tokina or a Tamron or a Laowa lens, whatever, people see it's accessible. So it's important to have the right tool for the job, but it doesn't have to be the most expensive tool for the job. So, as I always say to someone, you've got $3,000 to spend. Do you buy a $3,000 lens and sit at home and look at it? Or do you spend $1,500 on a lens that's maybe 95% as good, 98% as good, and spend $1,500 traveling somewhere to take photos?
Yeah, that's right.
I know what I'd rather do. I'd rather get out there and take photos. Secondly, if you're a working photographer, once again, it's about business. You don't spend twice as much money for a 3 or 4% increase in quality. It's just, it's very rare that makes good economical sense. Not many accountants would agree with you. And if the image quality is no, I mean, I show people a photo, no one's got a clue what brand of lens it's shot with. They judge it by its merit, and as long as each brand is producing quality gear, buy the lens that you like the most.
At 300 pixel by 300 pixel, you'll tell the difference.
Clearly.
Yeah. I would argue the same goes for the body of the camera as well. I get a lot of people coming in. I want to get into photography. How much do I need to spend? And I say jump on eBay and find a secondhand SLR for $350.
It depends on your end use. So I'm a little more persnickety when it comes to bodies, only because I shoot a lot of circumstances where I'm shooting at 12,800 ISO. A really, really, really low light. Well, you want a camera that can produce shots at 12,800 that's actually recognizable of what the subject is. And not all cameras can do that. So if you have a certain need, then you have to get the tool that does that need correctly. If you have to put in 1,500 nails per day, you're not going to get a hammer, you'll get a nail gun. So sometimes you need the right tool for the job. If you shoot in beautiful blue sunny sky every day, then it doesn't really matter. And spot on a 7 or 8 or 10-year-old body is going to be perfectly fine. This whole full frame versus non-full frame, well, there's no such thing as full frame. All cameras are full frame with the right lens on it, because all it means is the light covers the sensor fully. So I'd rather save money again and pay money to come on a tour with me.
I think what you just said about the full frame there, I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people that listen and watch this show, is because that's one of the biggest questions I get on my little trips away is, is that camera full frame or is it micro 4/3? I'm like, what's the matter? What does it, as long as the lens is good, as long as the photo is good, as long as you have an idea what you're doing.
My iPhone's full frame.
Yeah.
Because the light fully covers the sensor. It's a small frame. It's a small thing.
It's full frame.
It still covers it. Yeah, it's right. So we have to be careful about the marketing terminology versus the reality of what it takes to take a photograph. You know,
look, that's a topic for a whole other podcast.
Oh yeah, and no one ever walks up to a painter and says, what size paintbrush are you using, or how stiff are your bristles. I mean, people, they look at the end result, not the tool you use to make it with.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're traveling, what are you looking? What triggers you to put the camera up to your eye? What are you looking for? Is it all light all the time, or more subject? What's your main trigger point for raising that camera?
If I'm out looking to take, there's two paths. If I'm walking down the street and find incredible light, if we have time, we will stop and wait for someone to come towards it. That's good. If we're in a fairly empty, there's not like thousands of people standing around. If I see incredible light, I'll say, wow, that's great. Is there someone here to shoot? Okay. If we're walking the streets and looking for photographs to take, then anything I have a reaction to. So if something makes me smile, makes me laugh, makes me a bit or a bit scared or a bit repulsed or a bit frightened, anything I react to, I want to shoot. Because hopefully if I can shoot that in a way that captures that that reaction well, people, when they look at the photograph, will have a reaction too, and not just go, nice. Because nice is the worst thing you can say about someone's photos.
Yes, a bit like
you can say you hate it, nice. Great. If you hate it, it's great. Yeah. If you love it, tell me why. But don't. Nice means nothing. So you want people to react or feel or question or want to know more about it, or something that makes people react. So if you're walking along and feeling things, or getting excited about something, well, find a way to shoot that and try to capture that emotion in the shot.
Can I just expand on one of your answers there? Can you define your idea of incredible light?
Not easily.
Right.
So incredible light is just, you've got great maybe contrast is good. Light with good contrast in it is good. So what I mean by that is, if I can work with light and shadows on a subject, it doesn't have to be great light, it just has to be good light. It has to be more than just a diffuse all around you light, which is very hard to work any emotion with. But if I can find a window, let's say here, that I can get someone to stand here and get some shadow play, so I've got some light and dark, that gives me some emotion to work with, some tension to work with, then that's what I'm going to do. But it doesn't have to be this is a $4 torch from Kmart. It doesn't have to be great light, just light I can work with and do something with, and the light will tell the story for you. So you're not going to find really hard, strong, dramatic, punchy light and put a gentle little girl in there looking all soft, because it's not going to work. She needs to be out in that soft, more gentle light. But if you get a craggy faced old man, you don't want him in that soft light. You want him in somewhere where you can see some of those wrinkles and some of that drama. So what I'm looking for is light and what it's doing, and how can I use it? And what story is the light telling? If the light's saying something like, oh, I'm strong, or is there someone here I could take advantage of that with? And then you go up, smile to somebody, and then ask, do you mind if I take your photograph? If they say yes, they generally don't mind walking 10 feet across the road or something to where they'll get a good one of them. Because if you're going to have your photo taken, you want it to be good. So people generally won't object. So does that make sense about lights?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's great. I mean, as I say, because I've seen you in action, you have a knack, I think, of finding good light. We went for a walk around the main street of Ocean Grove, and we found ourselves in an alleyway heading towards a car park, and you stopped, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I realized, and all you did was put your hand out to study the light.
Yep. Your hand has wrinkles on it. It has bones. It has structure. You can see what light is doing just by moving your hand in it. You can have soft light on someone's face by having them facing directly at the light, and as they move away from the light, that texture in the wrist, in the bones start to come out. That'll tell you a story. What story you're telling? This one or this one? Which one works best for what you're trying to do? So I do this a lot. My hand out when I'm walking down the streets of places, because I'm looking at. It's more habit than actually, because I can see it in here anyway, but that helps other people see what I'm looking at.
I think it's translating that as well.
I think light is one of those ones that's really, really hard. It's a bit like composition. It's really quite hard to teach people who don't get it how to get it. So people either see light or they don't see light, or they either see a composition or don't see a composition. I think that comes with experience and time. Sometimes it's natural, but I think with experience, people start seeing things a bit differently when they're looking, like I said, they're looking for that light and how they can use it to their advantage and how they can tell the story with their subject. I think that's really good advice that, you know, if people are looking to do street photography or travel photography, you know, what you've just said there about the light and how I can use it and how I can move people around or move my subject to make that light work for you. Surely that's got to make the whole process a lot easier if they're identifying that straight away.
Absolutely. I mean, the good thing is you can see light. Yeah, this is a great thing about natural light or any constant light source. You can show someone it. One of the hardest things to teach is flash photography, even though it's a thing I love to use, but the light's not there until the photo's taken. So it's a lot harder to teach and get people to visualize. But I can show someone that in my hand and they can see it. You can get the subject to move a little bit and they can see it. So you learn really, really fast. It's like digital versus film again. You can see it really fast. You can ramp up your skills really fast. And what you'll find is once you start looking for light, you can't stop seeing it. And you'll go to the movies and you'll see the movie and you go, oh, and my wife, as soon as I go, oh, the movie, she knows, yeah, I know the light. Yeah, it's like you can't help but see light everywhere you go once you start looking for it. That's one of the great things about being a photographer, whatever your skill level is, you do see the world in a way no one else does.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant thing. It's an amazing, you don't have to have your camera with you because you're always taking photos. You're always seeing the photos. And we're incredibly lucky that we can travel to places and see them in ways no one else gets to see them.
Yeah. I think I've had a few customers and messages from people saying, oh, the way you live must be unreal, the way you see things. I'm like, but it's all, everyone can see it. It's always there. It's just how we see it a bit differently as photographers. And, you know, how many photos have you taken in your brain driving along in a car, you know, looking out the window?
And we know if all three of us stood together photographing the same thing, we'd all shoot it differently. So we all see differently. We all have our own personalities and experiences in life which dictate how we see and therefore how we shoot. So that's why I find it hard to teach someone how to take a style of photograph. But I can teach them how the elements and the light, the composition, the framing, the mood, but what story you tell, and always has to be up to you.
Person, that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving away a little bit from that, what do you credit as the biggest technical advancement or technological advancement in photography that has driven it in a good direction or driven it forward? Is it purely just digital photography has revolutionized to a point where, it was for the greater good, or do you find it was something else that's come along that's better than that to drive photography forward?
It's multi-pronged answers again. I would somehow say the iPhone, which is digital, so we could say digital before that, but the iPhone has got cameras into everyone's pocket, or the modern phone has got everyone carrying a camera everywhere. So the amount of photographs being taken per day now are exponentially enormously higher than it's ever been in the past. So if we were to ever credit, well, what's made photography get to the masses, we'd have to say that. I mean, everywhere I was at the concert a couple of nights ago, all you could see was phones. So that's a huge. But whether it's for the better is another matter altogether. As far as, we all know, you've got 12 or 14,000 photos on your phone, you don't see any of them. So
a good example, and I know you don't mind watching the odd AFL match, was Buddy Franklin's 1,000th goal the other night.
Yeah,
there was people. It was happening right in front of your very eyes in the most HD you could ever imagine, but they had to have that phone above their head. I find
that moment.
Well, it's the trophy, right? It's to show people that they were there.
But they don't often show people. They shoot. And
that's the irony of it.
I knew the world had changed. I knew that treasure, that needing to hold on to the photo and that I was there moment changed when I think it was the last Pope that died. And they showed a photo of him lying in state. It was encircled by people, all with their phones over the top of him. And I'd never seen a photo like that before. This is quite a long time ago now. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, the world's changed. We've had a huge shift. This is, you would have seen a press pack, but not a human pack, not a pack of just normal people behaving in that way. And that was an enormous shift, So I would say that if you do go to concerts, most concert photographers are allowed to shoot the first 3 songs and they've got to get out. My advice would be is don't shoot the first 3 songs. Actually enjoy the moment for a while, then shoot. And you'll have plenty of photos at the end of the day, but you've got that, what you paid money for, an experience. You've got that time to enjoy it. We've got to. It's the same when you travel. You can't shoot all the time. Sometimes you've got to put the camera down and just look. And every day on tour, I make people put their cameras down during some amazing event for just a couple of minutes, just to savor the moment. Because if we don't, what's the point?
With those advances in photography, and being someone that's been shooting since the 60s, which is well before my time, just putting it out there, do you find that the advancement in technology and photography is a good thing for photography in regards to being someone who's got a passion for it? Do you think that's put it in the right direction, or do you think it's...
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because people can learn faster, and I think we need to learn. At least we need to get past the frustrating elements of learning photography. And what you'll find, if you can learn a little bit quicker and become at least competent a little bit quicker, you'll stick with it longer.
Yeah.
If you like golf, if you can't ever hit a ball straight, you're not going to do it for much longer. You're going to give up fairly quickly. But if you can get to a point where you're having some successes, then you've got the impetus to keep on moving forward. And digital's allowed that, because even if that was no good, shutter speed, fix it and do it again. That's really important. So I think that digital has been a massive, I would even go so far as saying a savior for photography. Because I mean, I remember well what the market was like before digital, and it was a niche market. It was a small percentage of people were out taking photos, plus mum, and now we have hundreds of thousands, millions and more photographers in the world. And in the conflict in Ukraine right now, you're getting these people shooting images that's, we can't get away with stuff like people used to do in the past, because there's someone recording everything all the time.
That's right.
Which proves there's no UFOs, because there's so many cameras out there now. We'd have better photos.
And the irony of all that is there's less camera stores around than ever.
It's a tragedy, an absolute tragedy. I love an online shop, but there's nothing better than talking to someone for advice. And it doesn't matter where. If you live in Abu Dhabi, call Ocean Grove, call up Brendan and say, look, send it to me. I'll have it. Talk to someone. You'll if someone's got a passion, share that passion with them. I think this is one of the greatest compliment I ever got from running workshops is. I love coming to workshops because everyone there understands my passion. No one in my family gets why I need to stop 14 times on a day trip to get out of the car and take photos. But everyone at that workshop understood. It's not even about me. It wasn't, gee, you taught me so much. It's all the other people I sat with and had lunch with. They got me and I got them. It's a huge thing. That community is a huge thing.
That's the experience, isn't it?
And knowing that you're not a freak about it, it's not a strange obsession or a strange passion. Thousands and millions of other people share it, and so you've got to kind of rub shoulders with those people from time to time.
I remember when I was, when I first started working with you guys, with you, Glynn, and then you, Brendan. I used to go out with rolls of film after work, walk along the Yarra, take photos, and people would look at you strangely. They'd be like, what have you got a tripod set up? What are you taking a photo of the bridge for? That doesn't make any sense. And they just keep walking past. But now, like you said, it's more inclusive. It's not looked at as if you're some sort of arty freak who wants to go out and take photos of stuff.
Unless you're still shooting film, then you are.
Unless you're still shooting film, which some of us might be. Moving on.
Wow, that's a callback. I love a callback.
Opinionated mongrels may snidely look at you.
Yes.
So with all that in mind, where do you see us heading? What's next, Glynn? I mean, where do you see the industry moving? I mean, clearly, the device in everyone's pocket. We're there. It's going to be fascinating to see what comes next, don't you think?
It's a start. We've got to the starting line. I don't think we're anywhere near the finish. I think artificial intelligence and computational photography is the enormous shift that's going to come. All those photos that people take that are slightly out of focus will be able to be fixed. All those photos that are a little bit of blur will be able to fix. All those photos that the exposure is no good will be able to be fixed. that photograph that you wish Uncle Larry had been there for, you'll be able to easily put Uncle Larry in there. So having computers do a lot of the heavy lifting for editing and fixing of stuff will mean no bad photos going forward, theoretically.
A lot of fixing of stuff in camera as well. I think is going to be.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not sure. You kind of hope they would, but I always hope they'd put apps into cameras like things like Snapseed and things that have like Instagram filters into cameras. And I think the camera industry missed a huge opportunity to stay involved in what people were enjoying doing by keeping their cameras too traditional, and they paid the price a little bit for that. I think there's a lot of room for so I hope they do get on to doing some of this AI, some of this maybe a little remember the old bouncing paperweight back in paperclip back in Microsoft Word? Used to give you advice. Well, maybe
that horrible thing,
little bouncing roll of film telling you how to improve your shot, or there's so much growth for elevating people's photography, but whether the images will be more interesting because of it, I don't think so. So that's it. I mean, at some stage I kind of think that we'll get back to, there'll be a few great photographers, percentage wise, and lots of amateurs, like it always was. Now it seems like everyone has got a camera as a professional, but or want to be professional. But there's going to be less people at the higher echelon, because it's to stand out, you've got to be phenomenal rather than just really good.
Do you think we'll ever get to a point where it's not photography anymore? Like, do we get to a point?
Might say we're there already.
Yeah. Do we get to a point where we say, hey, I'm not taking photos, I'm creating pixels or whatever it might be.
So that's why I think it's really important that you've got to enjoy the doing. If you can't enjoy the doing, the end result will never satisfy you.
That's right.
When the end result is going to be so controlled by things maybe out of your control, it can't be the end result. The actual going out and doing has to be 90% of your fun.
Yeah.
And if you can't make it that, you're never going to get that. That's why people have photo mojo problems, is because they're either adding the stress of desperately trying to get great photographs, not just simply going out and having fun, enjoying, and the end result, who cares what it's like?
That's right. And in my experience as well, if you've got that mojo issue, if you go out in that mode, like you said, the end result's never going to be where you think it's going to be. But if you go out with no stresses, relaxed, and it's the passion and love about just going out into the wilderness or out to the travel or whatever you might be doing, you are going to get shots, because what you're feeling and what you're experiencing transfers into your camera. And what you see.
Jay Maisel, the great New York street photographer, shooting New York streets for 50 plus years. And when asked, well, how do you keep it fresh? How do you go out there and still want to do it after 50 plus years? He says, I just go out with a blank mind. I just shoot what I see. And that's kind of, if we can do that and enjoy that unexpectedness, then we're going a long way to enjoying our photography.
I guess you could say that we're the actual film plane. What we see, what we are as the film plane, not the memory card or not the film. It's we're embedding that image on us. And I think that's what's important about getting out and enjoying it. And like I said, having a clear mind and not putting too much stress on yourself about it.
And I think if you have issues with photo mojos, because you're trying to please other people, and other people's ideas about likes and clicks on Facebook or whatever, as opposed to just trying to satisfy yourself. My goal per year when I'm actually working is to take 6 to 10 photographs that I really like. That's it. If I can do 6, then most years I don't even get that many. But if I can take 6 to 10 photos, I've had a great year. And I go to amazing places, see amazing things day in, day out, and we're shooting for 12 hours a day, 6 photos. And I've had a good year.
This is the point where Brendan says, don't forget to like and subscribe. So we...
But that's the thing. This is the same though. You guys doing this is the same as people coming to my workshop. It's hanging out virtually with people who share a passion that you have a passion for, and I applaud you for it. It's a great thing.
I agree. I think the reason we started this was more so Cam and I could chew the fat. Like, Cam came here to my backyard. We had a barbecue. Like, what was it, Cam? Mid-year last year. And we just got talking photography, and it just bouncing backwards and forwards. And it was weird because I felt really comfortable in that space with another photographer head, another person who gets it. And it's like, we could make a podcast out of this, of just bouncing
better than Glynn's. Yeah. Well, that was the whole drive. No,
and then we're right in the midst of COVID as well, and it was like, we need this. This is important for us, but it's also, and the feedback we're getting from our listeners. And might I just say, as we do need to wrap this up because we could talk all night. I just want to say, this has been lovely. It's been really, really good. To see you, fantastic to see you, Glynn, and also just to listen to you, because I think you are a photo head, whether you like it or not. You're a photo tragic, like myself and Cam, and I think your take on photography is very, very refreshing. And I think hopefully our viewers and listeners have got a lot out of it.
I hope so. And I'm back again next week. Did you say? Sorry. If you ever want me back sometime in the future, I'd be happy to come back too.
Well, we do occasionally need a guest host when that guy over there disappears on his tours, or maybe I might disappear. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I've taken a landscape once by mistake.
Yeah. Did you?
Well, I was shooting a person in front of a landscape. They walked off just as I pressed the button.
You went, whoops.
I remember the workshop we did at Cradle Mountain. We did a split portrait workshop and landscape workshop, and Glynn's like, you can help out with doing this, and I learned a bit of this about portrait stuff. He goes, and I don't really know much about landscape, and I'm not going to shoot landscape, but I'll give it a go and I'll be there. And it was just a perfect romance of what we were doing. And we're at Cradle Mountain. It was a beautiful thing. But again, I'll reiterate what Brendan said. It's great to see you. And I know we caught up whenever it was when you came down here not long ago with your
last year, wasn't it?
February last year, and you crashed on the couch and we went to Port Arthur and had a great laugh. I love you to death, mate. You've always been a great friend, and you helped me a lot in the early days, especially on that sales floor that was a mosh pit. If people don't know, Glynn's a bit taller than me, so it was always nice to have a big brother on the sales floor to sort of pull you out of the mosh pit when you went missing and put you up to the front counter. So it's been awesome to talk, and definitely have you back again. That's for sure.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
No worries.
I'm open to questions too. So if anyone has questions, about stuff, just shoot me an email or whatever, and always happy to help out.
As always, we will link everything below. Everything Glynn Lavender will be linked below in the description. So thank you for your time tonight, mate. Really appreciate it.
Guys. Thank you.
And we will see you all for episode 36 of the Down South Photo Show next week. Bye for now.
Bye all.
See you, mate.